Okay, so today we are on unit 4.3. We will come back and finish 4.2 on another day, okay? But we are in unit 4.3 today, and what we're going to be working on is parabolas. Parabolas in standard form. Parabolas in standard form. Okay, there are two different forms that parabolas will come in. The first one is something called descriptive form. Okay, descriptive form. And a descriptive form parabola looks like a y equals a times, in parentheses, x minus h quantity squared plus k. That is what's called descriptive form of a parabola. Okay, we're going to deal with that in our next lesson, so not today, but I want you to be aware that there are two different forms. What we're going to deal with today is standard form. And standard form parabolas look exactly like a quadratic equation, but they have a y equals first. So y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. So you've seen this before with the quadratic formula. Okay, and we solved quadratic equations earlier this week. That's part of the quadratic formula, is underneath the root. Okay, so we are going to work with standard form parabolas today. Okay, all these letters, the only ones that you will see are y and x. Okay, a, b, and c, they just represent different numbers. Okay, so a, b, and c represent numbers. In this equation, a, h, and k all represent numbers. Right? Yes?
Is there going to be descriptive form on the quiz today?
No, you will not have descriptive form on the quiz today. It's just standard form parabolas.
Okay. Are there any word problems?
Yes, but I'm going to give you the equations, and it's not going to be that bad. Great. So for example number 1, I would like you to graph. We are going to graph, find line of symmetry. Okay, we're just going to write LOS. But that is actually line of symmetry. We never actually write it out because it's kind of a long word. So graph, find line of symmetry, vertex, x-intercept, y-intercept. Okay, so we're going to find all of those different parts. And and I also want you to state whether the parabola has a minimum or maximum value. Okay, so that's a lot of stuff, okay, but we can find out all of these different things just by being given one equation. Okay, so my first equation, I'm going to give you y equals x squared plus 6x plus 8. Okay, and just from that, I can find the line of symmetry, the vertex, I can graph, I can find x-intercept and y-intercept, and I can tell if this parabola is going to have a minimum or a maximum.
Is that a 6?
Yes.
Looks like a D.
I'm sorry. That's a 6. So, first thing I want you to look at is, what do we know? Do you guys remember anything from Algebra 1 about parabolas? What do you know from them already?
It's a Y.
We know it has to be a y equals, okay? Do you know what it's going to look like here? Do you know if it's going to be facing up or down?
No. I don't know. Sideways, I don't know. It's going to be...
Okay, they're never going to be sideways. We're not going to deal with that. So, do you think this is going to be going up or down?
Up. Yeah.
Okay, it is going up. Does anyone know why we can tell that it's going up?
Because it's positive.
Because its A value is positive. Okay, so remember the A value here tells you. Okay, so A value, what is the A value here?
1.
Right. Okay, so if I labeled my ABCs, okay, A would be 1, so the number attached to the x squared is 1. B will be 6, and C would be 8. Okay, and we're going to use those in just a minute. But if the A value is greater than 0, okay, so basically means positive. So anything greater than 0. It can be a fraction, okay, but if your A value is greater than 0, meaning positive, it faces or opens up. Okay, if A value is positive, parabola opens up. Okay, if the A value is less than 0, okay, that means negative, the parabola opens down. You will never have one that has a value of 0. Okay, so you won't have to worry about if it is equal to 0. So here, I know that this is going to be positive. Okay, so it will open up. If you look at these, okay, so if I know that my upwards goes this way, down would look something like that. Okay, I can already figure out, state whether the parabola has a minimum or a maximum value. So I'm going to skip to the end. What do you think? This is actually called the vertex, and we're going to find them. So the tip of the parabola, okay? If your parabola opens up, do you think that tip, is that its minimum or its maximum value? Does it have a minimum value or a maximum value? A minimum, that's the lowest it goes, right? It doesn't get any lower than that. So if you have a positive A value, meaning if it opens up, it has a minimum. Okay? If you have something that has a top value here, do you think this is a maximum or minimum point? That is a maximum. Okay, so an A value that is negative has a maximum. So, for this equation, does this have a minimum or a maximum? Okay, let's look at it. It's positive, so that means it's facing up, right? If it's opening upwards, it looks like this. So is this a minimum or a maximum value? Minimum, that is the lowest it goes. Okay, so this one has a minimum value. Okay, so it has a minimum. Now, let's look at, I'm going to find line of symmetry. Okay, to find line of symmetry, we always will use the equation x equals negative b over 2a. This is a formula that you will have to use to find the line of symmetry. Now, when I say line, it is going to be an equation of a line. It will be an x equals equation. Okay, so you will, it's a 6. This is a b, this is a 6. I apologize. 6, x squared plus 6x plus 8.
So that one's the b.
The formula is negative b over 2a. Negative b over 2a. Look, that's a b. No, because that's incorrect. It's not mathematically correct to have a capital B. Capital B stands for something different. Deal with it. Okay, plug in. So negative b, so that's negative 6 divided by 2 times your a value is 1. So the first thing you should do when you get these equations is label the ABCs. So write down your ABCs. Then I can simplify this, so that becomes negative 6 over 2, which gives you a negative 3. Now, when I ask you to write the equation, and this will be on your quiz today, write the equation of the line of symmetry, it must be written as an x equals equation, okay? This is a line. And remember, x equals lines go straight up and down. X equals lines. So the equation for the line of symmetry is written as an x equals equation. Okay, so that's your line of symmetry. The next thing we can find is the vertex. To find vertex, plug in x value. Okay, plug in your x value to find y value. Okay, the x portion of your line of symmetry is also going to be the same x for your vertex. So we will graph these in a minute, and I'll show you what that means. So To find y, you're going to use your original equation, so the y equals equation, plug in what you just found, and solve for y. So y equals, we had x squared plus 6x plus 8, and I want you to plug in this x. So plug in x everywhere in that equation. So we would got y equals negative 3 squared plus 6 times negative 3 plus 18. So what is negative 3 squared?
Positive
9.
9.
8. I don't know why. I was doing multiplication in my head. Sorry. Let's try again. Then minus 18. I was trying to go too fast. Plus 8. Remember, you have to go left to right. So 9 minus 18 plus 8 gives us what? 9 minus 18 is negative 9. Negative 9 plus 1 is negative 1. Okay? So your vertex will be at negative 3, comma, negative 1. That is my vertex. So my vertex is at negative 3, negative 1. I'll get him in a second. So now I'm going to actually start drawing my parabola. So make a little XY coordinate. It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, if you choose to use graph paper, you can, but you don't have to. Okay. First thing I'm going to do is let's put in my line of symmetry. So I'm going to put in my line where x is equal to negative 3. Okay, so I want you to write a line and I want you to make it dotted. Okay, and a line of symmetry is actually a fold line. Okay, so if you folded your paper in half, you know that line, that crease, that's basically your line of symmetry. Okay, so here your line of symmetry is at x equals negative 3. And I want you to label it. Then let's draw a point. I want you to put a point at your vertex. So over negative 3, down 1. And I want you to draw this. This is your vertex at negative 3, comma, negative 1. Now, I know that my parabola is going to be opening which direction, up or down? Up, because my a value is positive. What is the a value here? It was a 1. Remember, there's a 1 in front of there. Okay, so since my a value is positive, I know it's going to be opening up. But I don't know exactly where it crosses yet and where it crosses the y-axis. So I can find that, okay? To find your x-intercepts, make y equals 0. To find x-intercepts, make y equals 0. So plug in 0 for y. So 0 equals x squared plus 6x plus 8. And that's what we've been doing the past couple of days. Okay, this is just factor and solve. It's already set equal to 0. So now we need to factor it. So 0 equals, this factors to become x plus 4 and x plus 2. Split them up and set the parts equal to 0. So you'd get a negative 4 and a negative 2. So that means this parabola crosses the x-axis, this side-to-side axis, at negative 2 and negative 4. So put your points at negative 2 and negative 4. These are symmetrical, okay? So that means each one is the same distance from the vertex. The vertex is the midpoint, or excuse me, the vertex is the tip of your parabola. Now, I don't know exactly where it's going to cross up here, but I can find that as well, okay? To find your y-intercept, if I made to find x-intercepts, if I made y 0, what do you think I'm going to do to find y-intercepts? Make x 0. So plug in 0 for x. So y equals 0 squared plus 6 times 0 plus 8. So what will my y-intercept be? 8. All these cancel out. So then I can label this, go up 8 spaces. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that is where it crosses the y-axis. Now, you can connect your dots. So these connect to form the right side of your parabola. The left side is exactly mirror image of that. So don't make it like super wide. You want it to be about equal, okay? So make it about the same width, okay? And that is your graph. So I have found all the different parts, okay? I know that my line of symmetry is x equals negative 3. My vertex